This is the JTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose. Trinidad and Tobago is mourning the loss of former Prime Minister and President Arthur Napoleon Raymond Robinson. The 87-year-old Robinson passed away on Wednesday, April 9 at the St. Clair Medical Center. Minister of National Security Gary Griffith disclosed that Robinson would be given a state funeral and said arrangements have already begun with the necessary protocols to be observed. As Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister from 1986 to 1991, A.N.R. Robinson was held hostage and shot in the leg during the failed coup attempt in the country in 1990 by the Muslim group the Jamaat al-Muslimin led by Yassim Abu Bakr. Beyond Trinidad, Robinson is widely recognized as coming from a generation of West Indian intellectuals who changed the course of the region's history, and for his role in helping to create the International Criminal Court. He also served as the country's president from 1997 to 2003. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar said in a release that Robinson had been one of that nation's outstanding sons. The St. Lucia government has declared a water-related emergency as some communities, particularly in the north, continue to deal with dry weather conditions affecting the water supplies there. The government has advised citizens to be extremely prudent with their use of water and to avoid wasting this very precious resource. Lovely St. Amy Joseph has this report from HTS News Force.
I'm standing in a river in Union. Ordinarily, this river is filled with water, but as you can see, it is almost completely dried up, a telling sign that we are indeed in drought mode. The official announcement has been made by the ministry. A water-related emergency has been declared for the north of the island. Water Resource Officer Fitzgerald John says the declaration was prompted by acute shortage of rainfall in the north of the island, which led to drought conditions, coupled with diminishing reserves in the John Compton Dam.
What has happened is that as of 31st of March, the SPI, which is an index that the Met Services use to calculate drought, basically, indicated that from the northern part of the island, from Roseau to Bexon up to Cap Estate, we are right now experiencing drought conditions.
The declaration of a water-related emergency has been made pursuant to Section 10 of the Water and Sewage Act. Fitzgerald warns that in keeping with the legislation, there are punitive measures for misuse and wastage of water at this point.
Right now, it is illegal to wash your vehicle with a hose, okay? Right now, it is illegal to pollute the water, such as washing your vehicles in a river. Right now, we are asking the hotel, it is almost illegal as well to water your lawn with a hose.
The government is encouraging all citizens, and particularly those who live in the north of the island in the area covered by the declaration, to be extremely prudent with their use of water and to avoid wasting the precious resource.
Now that we're in a drought mode, what we're asking persons and what we've been asking persons to do for the longest while is to conserve. The rainfall has not been plentiful, but the little that has been coming, we are asking persons to try and conserve that, preserve that, because they will need it. We do not know how long this drought is going to last.
WASCO has embarked on measures to deal with the current situation, including repairing and bringing back online water intakes that had been decommissioned due to damage. Also, there will be reactivation of mobile water treatment plants that may be rapidly deployed where needed. However, WASCO warns there will be need for some rationing of supplies in the coming weeks, and the company will make announcements about its rationing schedule. Lovely St. Amy Joseph, HTS News Force.
The United States Customs and Border Protection says it has seized more than 1,500 kilograms of cocaine with an estimated street value of $42.8 million in an exercise conducted in the Caribbean Sea. The CBP said the drugs were found inside a 30-foot twin-engine wooden vessel off the southern coast of Puerto Rico. 55 bales were found filled with brick-shaped objects that later tested as cocaine. Last week, U.S. authorities said they had seized $50 million worth of cocaine from a ship and that 2 Venezuelan men had been arrested and charged with smuggling. The CBP said the case would be investigated as part of the Caribbean Corridor Strike Force, an initiative of the U.S. Attorney's Office created to disrupt and dismantle major drug trafficking organizations operating in the Caribbean. A Trinidad and Tobago national is due to appear in the United States Eastern District Court of New York after he was arrested with more than 7 pounds of cocaine concealed in frozen meat. On March 20, U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers stopped Yudhishthir Maharaj, who was arriving on a flight from Port of Spain, Trinidad. During the course of the inspection, officers discovered 3 large packages of frozen meat within his luggage. When probed, the frozen packages of meat produced a white powder that tested positive for cocaine. Maharaj was arrested for the importation of a controlled substance and was turned over to Homeland Security investigations. The total weight of the cocaine seized is approximately 7.35 pounds. Maharaj now faces federal narcotic smuggling charges and will be prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the U.S. Eastern District Court of New York. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, has warned that about 50% of people living in the Americas, including the Caribbean, are at risk of one or more diseases carried by insects. The Washington-based PAHO said these insects include mosquitoes, ticks, flies, and other vectors which carry diseases such as the West Nile virus, dengue, malaria, and most recently chikungunya. PAHO Director Dr. Carissa Etienne said the region has achieved many successes in controlling vector-borne diseases. However, this success is being threatened by the expansion of mosquitoes and other vectors into new habitats and by the emergence of insecticide and drug resistance. Etienne said PAHO and its partners are therefore calling for stepped-up action in the fight against vector-borne diseases in the Americas. For the JTV Caribbean News, Sean Rose.
Coming up next on JTV News. After a lengthy closure, Bobby's Supermarket reopened its doors to the public on Saturday, April 12th. And Virgin Gorda Recreation Grounds mural project is a celebration of the island's history and culture.